Here we are, another episode of A Drink from Upstream. Glad you can join me on this day. And I want to talk to you today from Luke's Gospel. Now, this is the section, chapter 11 of Luke's Gospel, where Jesus has been, at first, he's been praying himself. His disciples evidently are observing him communing and communicating with God, his Father, and because they ask him then, would you teach us how to pray? And then the next thing we have there is Jesus, what we call the Lord's Prayer, but it's really the Lord's example or the way the Lord taught his disciples how to pray. And then starting in verse 5, he goes into this story where he's teaching them a lesson about God. And here's what I want you to pay attention to. Here's what I want you to think about. How bold are you, still being respectful, still being, treating prayer sacredly, but how bold are you with regard to your prayers? So this is what Jesus says, starting in verse 5. He says, and he said to them, so he's talking to his disciples, quote, which of you who has a friend, which if you have a friend, congratulations. I hope that you have lots of them. This is what Jesus says. Which of you who has a friend will go to him at midnight and say to him, friend, lend me 3 loaves of bread, for a friend of mine has arrived on a journey and I have nothing to set before him. Now, I hope that I'm your friend, but I hope that as your friend, you don't come to me at midnight asking for a couple of loaves of bread because you had somebody show up at your house unexpectedly and you don't have any food in your pantry. First, get some food in your pantry, right? Just in case somebody shows up at midnight and wants to have a meal with you. If you don't have that, then find somebody else. Don't knock on my door for that. But that's not the point. Think about this. Which of you who has a friend, would you do that to somebody? Would you go to their house at midnight, wake them up, possibly wake their whole family up because you don't have anything to give to somebody who unexpectedly shows up at your door? Well, of course, in this culture, it would have been, hospitality is a really, really big thing in the Near East. And in this day, it would have been very offensive to not have some food to set before a friend who shows up at your door. And so, but the story is, as it goes, Jesus says, which of you who has a friend would do that to your friend, right? Not very many of us. Then in verse 7, he says, and he will answer from within, meaning the friend who got woke up? Yeah, whatever. The friend that was awakened, that he says, do not bother me. But notice he says it from within. He doesn't even come to the door. He just yells, don't bother me. The door is now shut. And my children are with me in bed. Meaning they're all in the bed, they're all in the house, they're all sleeping. What are you doing? Yelling from outside, wanting something to eat for an unexpected guest. He says this, I cannot get up and give you anything. I cannot, I think really means I'm not going to do that. What do you think you're doing? Waking me up in the middle of the night because you want some food. Kind of crazy, right? But then notice, Jesus is telling a story to teach a lesson, right? And so then he says this, verse 8, I tell you that though he will not get up and give him anything because he is his friend, yet because of his impudence, he will rise and give him whatever he needs. Notice, this is like super cool. So impudence is a lack of sensitivity to what is proper. So it's clear to any thinking person that it is not proper to wake somebody up in the middle of the night because you want to share a meal with an unexpected guest. Like nobody's going to do that. It's not proper. It's impudent. But he says that the guy from within is going to give his friend what he needs, not because he's a friend, but because he's so incredibly bold, because he's just like, he doesn't get it. He's insensitive to what is basic common courtesy, but he's going to give him what he needs because he's so bold. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? And then, of course, Jesus goes on, verse 9, and I tell you. So remember, his disciples started out saying, teach us how to pray. And then, of course, Jesus said, oh, this then is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we've also forgiven our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. So he taught them how to pray, but now he's teaching them something else really important about prayer. He says, I tell you, verse 9, ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. Now remember, the guy from in the story wouldn't open his door. He just yelled from within. But here Jesus says, if you knock, the door will be opened for you. For whoever asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks, it will be opened. So we're learning something about God and our ability to commune and to communicate with him. We're being invited to wake God up in the middle of the night if we need something, even if it seems improper. We're invited. Now, of course, we understand God does not sleep, so it's hypothetical. It's like a figure of speech. But we're being invited to be so bold as to wake God up in the middle of the night because we have a need that we would like him to be attentive to. So let me ask you that again. How bold are you in your prayers? Are you so bold that you lack a sensitivity as to what is proper? Is there a sense of your understanding of God and your love for God and your boldness in your ability to come before God that gives you such a sense that you'd be willing to pray like this? So here's the good news. This isn't me saying, hey, I think you should be bold in your prayers. I think you should be persistent in your prayers. This is Jesus. Jesus is teaching us how we're supposed to be before God the Father. He's teaching us how to pray. He's teaching us to be persistent in prayer. So I hope that that's helpful for you today. It certainly is for me. God bless you.